said, quote, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace."
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What is being described as an extraordinary meeting involving leaders from all 27 EU countries is set to commence. Yes, this is as a result of the egomaniac-in-chief who has said he no longer feels obliged to only think of peace after he was not awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year.
Now, Sally John, I hope you're sitting comfortably. I know that normally you talk to me about economics and numbers, but this is also the place where all these people will meet. Donald Trump is coming here on Wednesday. We think Keir Starmer might do. He might want to get his skates on because of something that's just happened. We have both the Norwegian Prime Minister and Finnish Prime Minister accounts of an exchange of letters, which is truly extraordinary. It is absurd and funny in a way, but it's also incredibly serious. Overnight, an email or exchange between those two and Donald Trump is reported to have replied, "Considering your country," this is a message to Norway, "decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped the wars, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace."
So to recap, he wants to wage war because he wasn't given a trophy he wanted. He sends ICE agents to blue states despite red states having higher crime rates because they didn't vote for him. And there's a good chance he invaded Venezuela because their leader impersonated his dance moves. This is what happens when you elect a narcissist.
Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong.
The French president calling the tariff threats unacceptable. Sweden's prime minister saying we will not let ourselves be blackmailed. Only Denmark and Greenland decide on issues concerning Denmark and Greenland.
This is what he does. It's Martin Luther King Day. I'm sick. And here I am in the office because this man's relentless quest for Greenland knows no bounds. In a message to Norway's Prime Minister, Trump blamed the country for not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize. In his reply to Trump, the Prime Minister explained, like most normal people would understand, that an independent committee, not the government of Norway, awards the prize, which last October went to Venezuela's opposition leader.
Just shows the sort of tone of the response of the conversation that will be had in a...
So despite her giving it to Trump, it seems he is not satisfied and has opted to throw diplomacy out the window. Maybe we need to bring in Gianni Infantino again to make up some other FIFA prize for him.
Breaking news now here on Sky News. And those countries that have been threatened with increases in tariffs by President Donald Trump have put out a joint statement. They are Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. And their statement says, as members of NATO, we're committed to strengthening Arctic security as a shared transatlantic interest. And they certainly appear committed to sticking together on this one in the face of that threat from Donald Trump. We know that ambassadors of the EU are meeting this afternoon to discuss the issue as well.
According to ABC News, European leaders are convening a, quote, extraordinary meeting later this week in direct response to Trump's escalating pressure around Greenland, something that the people of Greenland could not be more against.
I think he has lost his mind. I hope that there soon will be some more clever people in the States who will tell him, no, it's not going to work, this thing. You have to retire in some way or another, and then to make it successfully for you too. But I think he has lost his mind a month ago.
It's a bit like a spoiled child turned old. And you think he can, and he can think he can scare people. He can't scare Greenlanders. We're not scared. We'll fight him to the end, and we will never give in. And we are so happy we have so good allies.
I cannot really imagine that he can have Greenland, and he can put pressure on, yes, but I hope really he wouldn't succeed in it. But we don't know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows,
No.
But we have a lot of allies, and now they are stepping up.
I hope that the American people as well get their eyes opened to see this is not a good way to treat anybody.
That's right. It's not a routine summit, not a scheduled forum. It's an extraordinary meeting to deal with an unprecedented threat from someone they thought to be their closest ally. This is the heads of all 27 nations being pulled into an emergency level conversation because of what the US president is continuing to say and threatening to do.
Mr. President, to pull out of NATO if it doesn't help you acquire Greenland, if it doesn't lead to
Well, we're going to see. NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security, especially when it comes to what we're doing in terms of the Golden Dome and all of the other things. We have a lot of investments in military. We have got the strongest military in the world, and it's only getting stronger. And you saw that with Venezuela. You saw that with the attack on Iran, with the knocking out their nuclear capability potentially. So, yeah, we're talking to NATO.
Trump's renewed demand for complete and total control of Greenland, paired with threats of tariffs aimed at multiple NATO-aligned European countries, has resulted in pushback across the EU.
Gerade ständig neue Provokationen. Wir erleben ständig ein neues Gegeneinander, das Präsident Trump sucht. Und hier müssen wir Europäer deutlich machen, die Grenze ist erreicht. Alles das zeigt, in was für einer Phase der Umbrüche wir gerade leben.
ABC reports that the White House is threatening a 10% tariff on goods from 8 NATO countries, including Denmark, after those countries participated in a Greenland military exercise. But here's the part that contradicts the Trump narrative, right? Trump sells the tariffs as leverage, as though allies will panic and fold. But why don't we check in on how that worked the last time he implemented his tough guy tariffs on Canada?
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
China's strengths, for example, in electric vehicles are formidable. They're undeniable. These are the most affordable and energy efficient and innovative vehicles in the world. And for Canada to build our own competitive EV sector, we need to learn from, partner with, and access and build supply chains with China. To help deliver on the full potential of these partnerships and to bring down costs for Canadians, we're going to start by allowing up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market at the most favored nation tariff rate, which is 6.1%.
Oh, that's right. They rekindled economic ties with China, the country that Trump continues to reference as a means to justify his want to annex Greenland. And much like Canada, the EU is calling his bluff, instead mobilizing around international law and standing in solidarity with Denmark and Greenland. European Council President Antonio Costa explicitly cited the, quote, significance of recent developments as the reason for this meeting and framed Europe as united around solidarity and legal order. So yeah, when people are warning Trump's second term would be worse, you have all 27 European leaders convening urgently because they think that the US is destabilizing Arctic sovereignty. And that's what this meeting is, right? Damage control for Trump's rhetoric. And the result is this is how America first simply becomes America alone. All because allies stop trusting the person holding the wheel.
And I may do that for Greenland too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that. I'll give you a little, I'll take you out of that. In fact, that'll end up being the story. But actually, this is a much bigger story because we're reducing healthcare by numbers that you haven't seen.
Is there a way to address the president's security concerns without handing over Greenland that both sides might support?
No, because this has nothing to do with actual security concerns. This is the president being an idiot. And he is really excited about the idea of taking this big piece of land that's on a map. And he's just using any excuse to actually cover up his idiotic idea. And then you have people like, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. They're coming up with all these weird excuses. We have access to Greenland. We have a base in Greenland. The Kingdom of Denmark has said you could expand all the bases you want. They have agreed to work with us on economic issues. They've agreed to any type of economic treaty to secure mineral rights, whatever it is. They'll do anything because they certainly don't want to work. But this is just a fit of fancy this president is having. And then all his court jesters around him are coming up with an excuse because the real reason is really dumb. It's just the president is an idiot. And we're all trying to come up with excuses. But the fact is, at the core base, this president is an idiot. And now he's putting that foreign policy into effect, which is going to negatively affect us in the long run in terms of our national security.
It could not be more apparent that Trump's leadership through strength is failing.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.